Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Fun and Fancy Free, which came out in 1947, is the fourth movie in the package film era of Disney animation, and is a little more reduced in terms of its content than Make Mine Music. What this movie essentially is two stories rolled into one. The first story involves Bongo, a circus bear who rides a unicycle, who finds his way into the forest because he wants to be free, and eventually finds true love there. The second is a retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk, but with Mickey Mouse in the lead role, as he's accompanied by Donald Duck and Goofy. And these stories are lazily tied together by Jiminy Cricket, and then Edgar Bergen and his team of ventriloquist dummies. And I really want to get out of the Disney package film era. I'm going to admit that right now. I knew this wasn't going to be an easy task when I said I'd be reviewing all the Disney animated movies, and I knew there were some movies where my patience would be tested, but man, I'm ready to be done with this era of Disney animation. For historical reasons, I understand that I can't be too harsh on the package film era, because again, you have to take into consideration that because of Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi not doing as well as Disney had hoped, the movies that followed in this particular era had to be done at lower costs, and plus World War II was going on, so a lot of the artists were drafted into the war, and those that weren't drafted ended up making propaganda movies. So you can understand the situation that everyone's in, but would it be too much to ask for a little more creativity with some of these movies? Fun and Fancy Free is not god-awful or unbearable to watch, because trust me, there's some Disney movies that are so much worse than this. But at the same time, it's not good. And if anything, it makes me apologize to Make Mine Music. Now, one of the things that I mentioned about Make Mine Music last week was, if you watch any of these segments on their own, they're perfectly fine. But if you watch them as part of an hour and 15-minute long movie, then it's not really all that fun. And with this movie, there are two segments, but the segments on their own just are so lacking and have so many problems. Let's talk about them first of all. The first one is Bongo, which is narrated by Dinah Shore. And when it starts out, I think it's perfectly cute. The animation's decent. Bongo has a lot of great personality. And I think Dinah Shore's narration, along with her singing voice, accompanies this movie very well. But the problem is that it overstays its welcome. It goes on for a little too long and probably would have worked as a Silly Symphonies cartoon. And the song about the bears just slapping the shit out of each other when they're in love, I remember liking it as a kid because this was one of those other shorts that I did see as a kid, isolated. But watching it as an adult, it's not one of the best. It's harmless, but it's not one of the strongest things Disney has made. And then when you get to Mickey and the Beanstalk, that one is actually a little more well done, because it's a Mickey Mouse cartoon with Donald Duck and Goofy. It's imaginative, it's fun, but the one thing that ruins it, to the point where it becomes unbearable, is Edgar Bergen's narration. Now, the problem with his narration is not so much that he himself is bad, but it just feels sloppy. Before Mickey and the Beanstalk starts playing, there is a sequence where Jiminy Cricket is at a party. Like, it involves Edgar Bergen, his ventriloquist dummies, and this little girl. And this entire segment is just way too creepy, and it's just, it has no purpose with the rest of the story. It could have been cut out completely, and I feel like the reason Edgar Bergen was probably in this movie was for name recognition. But the biggest problem with his narration is that the dummies will occasionally butt in to the narration. So does the little girl. And not only that, but the movie will just sometimes stop, cut away from Mickey and the Beanstalk, cut back to the live action segments where they don't contribute anything to the plot. And it really makes what could be a really fun short into something that's almost unwatchable. It's like when you watch Gigantus the Fire Monster. The narration in that movie is just non-stop, and it almost makes it borderline unwatchable. I don't have anything else to say about this movie. It is not the strongest that Disney has made. And honestly, I think it's worse than Make Mine Music. So far, with only 2 movies left to go, this is probably the worst in the package film era, because I gave my compliments to Make Mine Music as individual segments, not as a whole feature. But this, even the individual segments are heavily flawed. And at the end of the day, I just have to say, don't waste your money on it. If Disney had removed all the narration from Edgar Bergen and his dummies and just re-released Mickey and the Beanstalk as its own thing, then I think it could be fantastic. But having to watch this with Bongo and an unbelievably lazy attempt to try to tie these 2 stories together featuring Jiminy Cricket, it's not worth the effort. And also, one thing I noticed with Jiminy Cricket, considering that he's not an original Disney character, I think this might be the start to where characters from other properties start really becoming Disneyfied to the point where people really do think Jiminy Cricket was created by Disney. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier when I talked about Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, how the most popular interpretations of these stories are usually from Disney, and that's for the best and sometimes for the worst. But whatever, I just don't like this movie. And there you go, that's my review for Fun and Fancy Free. We're only 2 movies left in this package film era. And the next one coming up is Melody Time. But before we get to that, Disney's 59th animated movie is being released this weekend, Raya and the Last Dragon, which I've heard is getting spectacular reviews. I haven't seen it yet, but I cannot wait to see it for myself, and I will have a review for it as soon as possible, definitely before we get to Melody Time. But now I want to hear what you guys think about Fun and Fancy Free. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Fun and Fancy Free. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share me with your friends. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, go check out my Twitch channel, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.